do that. It's done by the feds, by the FBI.
Yeah.
And so because they're present in the fusion center, when something surfaces that looks like it could be terrorism, they're right there to take the information and act on it.
Okay, so they just basically take over when it comes to terrorism.
Right.
It's the Department of Public Safety that oversees the Fusion Center, right?
Right.
Okay. Let's see. What does the Department of Public Safety administer the grants to the Fusion Center, or do they come from multiple people or multiple agencies? Or?
Are you asking how is it financed?
Yeah, yeah.
It's financed partly through appropriations from the State General Assembly.
Okay. And does that, so that would be all state-generated money and not any federally? Okay.
Right. Now, separately, they may apply for grants from federal agencies to do other things as well. So it's a blend of grants that they generate as well as appropriations from the General Assembly. There are also people who work there who are essentially on loan from other agencies.
Yeah.
So we don't pay their salaries are paid by somebody else, and they just work at that
That's
location.
exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Do you know how many employees you have, or a rough estimate?
I think it's 32.
32. Do you know how many salaries that the CIAC pays and how many are?
I'm guessing, I think it's about 8.
8? Okay. So then, do you get some of your funding from the Department of Homeland Security, either directly or indirectly?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a big question that we haven't gotten answered yet. Does the Department of Homeland Security give you a list of recommendations or mandates whenever you accept the funding?
I'm not sure what you mean, but I think what you're getting at, the answer would be no.
Okay.
Every grant program has specific purposes, and so they have to adhere to those purposes in order to get the money, to qualify for the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I know most fusion centers go by the NCIP, like, regulations for how to do, like, run things, but we couldn't figure out. We were thinking most fusion centers seem to get money from Department of Homeland Security, but we haven't really found much of a tie besides that between the Department of Homeland Security and what the fusion center actually does. So,
well, they don't dictate the everyday activities of the fusion center, I guess, if that's what you're looking for. They pretty much know what the function of a fusion center is, and that's what they'll fund it to do.
okay, so yeah, that makes sense, because the 9/11 Act of 2007, that makes pretty much, yeah, a lot of sense. Let's see. Okay, I guess on to technology. Who recommends the technology that the CIAC uses?
It's a blend of what our folks have learned from other fusion centers, what they use, plus what federal agencies historically use for these kinds of operations. Pretty much the choice, when it really comes right down to it, is what our folks decide that they want to use.
Okay. Yeah, I was at the National Fusion Center conference in New Orleans this year for a brief little bit. We had Operation DEFUSE members who were in there as press too, and I wasn't so surprised with the vendor area, but it seemed like they were pushing really hard for some of their technologies to try to. And I was wondering, like, do you think their method of advertising really works on fusion centers, or if they're really just going in there and it's kind of a show for them?
You know, I think it is kind of a show for them. Fusion centers usually don't have the money to go out and buy everything, all the goodies and the toys that vendors want to sell.
Most of the time I found that it's like, it wouldn't be the fusion center, it'd be like the police department that would buy one of the technologies or something.
Yeah.
Okay, who decides what money is spent on the technology? Is it all of the participating agencies, or can they buy their own things, or what?
Well, they're not really given money for that purpose, so basically it's what they can either get through grants or, you know, I think one of the things I want to emphasize is that what they got is pretty much anything that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
A computer, an internet connection, a phone, a car. That's the kind of equipment they've got. They do not go out and buy surveillance equipment. That's not their role. They may purchase things like plotters, other kinds of computer peripherals, but that's about it. And they decide themselves what they need to do their job.
Okay. I was looking over the privacy policy, and I noticed a couple things. First of all, is it considered an improved privacy policy?
No, that one is that's an old one that is, as I mentioned to you, has been taken off the website because they're in the process of revising it.
Okay. And let's see. You mentioned in here there's going to be a privacy committee created. Well, it says will create. Did that committee ever come into existence?
Yeah, they're operating now on the revision to that.
And does it have a name, or is it just privacy committee?
I think it's privacy policy committee or something like that.
Okay. And who decides who's on that committee?
They pretty much put together the group themselves. They include, they really do try to include a wide variety of people that, those things aren't created in a vacuum. It's not just them sitting in a room together. They do talk to civil liberties people. The state attorney general's office reviews it. They consult with the Department of Homeland Security when they create those things. In fact, DHS has a model, and that's really where they start with that model.
Okay. So civil liberties groups actually aren't represented on it. They just seek them out to discuss things. Or
you know, I couldn't say for sure that they're not represented on it. I think they probably are. They have an active role in it.
Okay. Let's see. What's the difference between information and intelligence?
Well, information is essentially anything that they either collect or comes to them. Intelligence, in my view, is something that is more actively collected by trained investigators or analysts. It's information that is verified. It's information that comes from more than one source. And information is sort of the general thing, and intelligence is a part of that. But information could be rumors, could be false information. All that stuff is part of just the general description of what information is. But intelligence is verifiable information that has some sort of application and benefit to, especially in this group, to them.
I asked